If you've ever had a staring contest, you have probably realized that blinking is a tough thing to stop. Even the most determined participants eventually give in to that uncontrollable twitch. But have you ever wondered why we blink so often, somewhere around 15,000 to 20,000 times per day? Sure, on the surface, it might seem like blinking is just nature's way of keeping your eyeballs from turning into sandpaper. But there's a lot more going on during those split-second eyelid flutters than meets the eye. Blinking, it turns out, is a multitasking marvel that not only protects your vision, but also enhances how you perceive the world around you. Let's dive into the science of blinking and explore why your eyeballs owe their lives to this unsung reflex. Why do we blink? At its core, blinking is like housekeeping for your eyeballs. Every time you blink, you're not just closing your eyes, you're giving them a miniature spa treatment. Blinks help lubricate the eye surface with fresh tears, keeping it moist and comfortable. Without this constant rinse cycle, our vision would be about as clear as a dusty windshield in a desert storm. Each blink spreads a cocktail of tear film across the cornea, a refreshing mix of water, oils, and mucus that not only hydrates, but also nourishes the eye with essential oxygen and nutrients. Think of it as eye Gatorade. It also wipes away microscopic debris like dust, pollen, and whatever mysterious particles float through the air when you open a dusty drawer. This all sounds very practical. But here's the twist. We blink more than is strictly necessary for eye maintenance. The mind behind the blink. Scientists have found that even when our eyes are already well moisturized and clean enough to meet Martha Stewart's standards, we keep blinking. Why? The answer lies not in dryness, but in how we see. Not just in the biological sense, but in how our brains interpret the visual world. Let's unpack this with a look into the way our eyes scan a scene, how the eyes work the room. When we look at something, a painting, a bustling street, or your friend's messy bedroom, we're not seeing one static image. Instead, our eyes are constantly darting around, using rapid-fire movements called saccades. These quick shifts allow us to sample different parts of the scene, focusing for a brief moment, about 300 milliseconds if you want to be that precise, before jumping to the next visual landmark. And even when we're fixating on a point, say, a face or a word in a book, our eyes are actually still dancing ever so slightly. These micro movements may seem negligible, but they enhance our perception of fine detail by preventing visual fading. If your eyes were to remain absolutely still, you'd literally start to go blind to stationary images. So, our eyes jiggle ever so slightly to refresh the input, like a fidgety kid pressing the refresh button on a browser. These subtle movements enhance our ability to pick up high spatial frequencies, that is, the tiny details and edges that let you see the intricate patterns on a leaf or read this sentence. But what happens when you blink? Now here's where things get interesting. If your eyes are constantly scanning for visual detail, what happens when you throw a blink into the mix? For a brief moment, your vision is completely blocked. You're blind, albeit for just a few hundred milliseconds. The screen goes dark, the curtains close. Shouldn't that be a visual catastrophe? Surprisingly, no. In fact, researchers from the University of Rochester found that blinks actually improve our visual perception in a different way than micro movements do. Using ultra-precise eye-tracking technology, they studied how people perceived the world while blinking voluntarily, blinking reflexively, and during simulated blinks, where the visual input was manually removed. In every case, blinking did something remarkable. It boosted the brain's sensitivity to low spatial frequencies, the broader, blurrier shapes and structures in a scene. Think rolling hills rather than blades of grass. This shift helps your brain zoom out and capture the big picture after spending time focused on the fine print. In essence, micro movements fine-tune your focus on details, while blinks reset your visual field and help you grasp the larger context. It's like switching between a magnifying glass and a wide-angle lens. Your eyes and your brain get to use both. Your brain is smarter than you think. So, what's happening in your brain during a blink? A lot, actually. Instead of treating the brief visual blackout as a flaw, your brain uses it as an opportunity. During the blink, there's a kind of neurological reset that refreshes the overall visual scene. It's a bit like clearing your browser cache, not in a frustrating tech support way, but more like giving your brain a moment to recalibrate its view of the world. We might not blink randomly. Evidence suggests we strategically time our blinks, often aligning them with natural pauses in our environment or conversation. Ever noticed how people tend to blink at the end of a sentence or while someone else is talking? That's not a coincidence. It's a sign that our brain is optimizing the timing of visual resets to avoid missing critical information. Imagine that your eyeballs are timing their blinks like professional broadcasters, cutting to commercial at the perfect moment. Strategic blinking. One of the big questions that researchers are now asking is whether we blink based on the type of visual information we need. If we are trying to process complex visual detail, like looking at an architectural blueprint, are we less likely to blink so we don't miss the intricacies? On the flip side, when we're scanning a crowd for a familiar face, might our brains encourage blinking to help us tune into the general layout rather than the fine details? In other words, are our blinks smart? Are they context-aware? The answer seems to be a cautious yes. Though we still have more to learn, blinking may be an intelligent part of our visual system, not just a mindless reflex. Everyday blinking. Blinking might also help us emotionally and socially. Some researchers believe that blinks signal cognitive pauses, moments when your brain is switching gears or taking a beat to reflect. Others see blinking as a subtle social cue, especially during conversations. A blink here and there might communicate attentiveness, a need for a pause, or even emotional response. So next time you blink while someone is talking, remember, you're not zoning out, you're performing high-level social communication. Fun blink facts to impress your friends. Blinking isn't just an unconscious tic, it's a surprisingly complex and revealing behavior. For instance, you blink more when talking than when reading because conversation involves frequent visual and cognitive shifts, prompting your eyes to refresh more often. In contrast, screen time drastically reduces blink rate. Staring at a phone or computer can cut your blinks in half, leading to dry, irritated eyes that feel like you're blinking over sandpaper. Interestingly, women tend to blink more than men, likely due to hormonal differences that influence tear film stability and eye moisture. And if you've ever locked eyes with a baby and noticed their gaze feels intense, it's because newborns blink only about 1 to 2 times per minute. Their world just isn't visually overwhelming enough yet to need frequent breaks. So should we be blinking more or less? Don't overthink it. Your body's got this. Unless you're clocking 8 hours of screen time without a blink in sight, your natural blinking reflex is doing its job just fine. In fact, if you're worried about dry eyes, try the 20 to 20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds and blink. Blinking isn't just a quirky body quirk, it's a finely tuned, multitasking, perception-enhancing, eye-saving mechanism. It's like your body's way of quietly saying, hey, let me handle this. The blink of an eye reimagined. What we once thought was a throwaway bodily function about as exciting as scratching an itch is actually a powerful tool in visual perception and brain function. Blinking does more than keep your eyes moist. It keeps your brain sensed, your vision refreshed, and your perception razor sharp. So next time someone tells you you're blinking too much, feel free to tell them you're just enhancing your sensitivity to low spatial frequencies and calibrating your global visual awareness. Then blink at them smugly, because now you know, blinks aren't just for hydration. They're for vision, for perception, for cognition, and yes, sometimes for dramatic effect. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed diving into the fascinating science behind something as everyday as blinking, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, keep your eyes wide open, except, when you need to blink. Stay curious, stay sharp, stay hydrated.